Okay, maybe we should go ahead and get going. Others might join. I got a couple of regrets, but why don't we kick off with introduction of new members? And so we've got Malorly Wilkes from CAMC. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us why you joined the group? You're on mute. Malorly? She was on earlier because we were chatting. Okay, we'll come back to that in a minute. So Brian put together a bit of an agenda that he sent out. We didn't have anyone confirm for presentations this month, so we're just doing the roundtable. The first topic then was any new projects that anyone has that they're kicking off that they would like to talk about.
I don't think I have anything off the top of my head, Patty. I'm sorry.
Okay. Brand or Malorly, anything for your sites?
Yeah, we kicked off Cerner Blood Bridge in January, and the project's going well so far. And from last time we met with folks from CAMC related to our wireless Dynamaps. And last week I got that live on 2 units for a proof of concept. That seems to be going well. So hopefully we can expand that to the house.
We love when you get information from the session that helps you.
Yeah, I was excited about that, and it was great.
You coordinated that with Tina Stamper?
Yes, after we met last time, yeah.
Cool. Okay, if no one has anything else under new projects, the next topic was products or workflows under consideration. Is anyone in the planning phase for any new solutions?
We're starting to dip toes into virtual nursing, have been for a while. This probably come up in the previous roundtables, but just very early on, trying to figure out what works with what we already have and budgeting and things like that. We already have contracts with a company for our virtual sitter, so looking to see what they have as an option, but not really doing any integration work or anything at this point.
So at this point, you're planning to have them do full documentation in the chart, or?
That's still what we're trying to figure out how best to handle it. We've got, the one vendor with the cameras, and they have some software already. For our virtual sitters, there's not really anything to flow between their software and Cerner. And a lot of those folks already live in the Cerner environment. So if we were to do something, we would probably have a screen with Power Chart versus a screen with the camera for the monitor. If we were to go with the vendor we already have. But it's still very early. And what's the best bang for the buck? Because there's a couple of different ways you can do it. Of course, there's like a one-to-one episodic, one-to-many for like EICU, and just trying to figure out the best. Sorry, I've got a Lego builder behind me who's getting frustrated. A lot of what's the best way to meet the needs of our nurses and what's gonna help them the most at the bedside. How can we best utilize that technology? It's still very early discussion, and everybody's got a different opinion.
Well, hopefully, once you kick it off, you can come back and report on how you're doing.
Absolutely. We're probably looking, this is going to be something that we're discovery phasing through probably 23 and looking to do more in 24.
Grant, anything from UTMC?
We have to switch over from anesthesia uses GE, and it's being sunsetted, so we're switching to Talus. So there's going to be some challenges there. And we're also bringing SurgeonNet live for those who aren't anesthesia. So, and then we have a code upgrade in May. We got a couple things going on.
A few.
Yeah, we're actually, you remind me, we're getting ready to go live with all new telemetry, patient monitoring, hopefully in the next couple months here, but that's been an ongoing project. Jenna Lloyd probably discussed way back when. That's how long we've been working on it. But we're excited to almost be there.
Hey, it's Tina from West Virginia. Sounds like we're all going through the same switchovers with our monitors. Telemetry, because we're in the process of converting several of our hospitals from Philips to GE.
Yeah, or one of our operations leaders joked that it was like we were switching off of the rotary phones now to get the new stuff. We're getting a cell phone.
I'm sorry I'm late.
No
I couldn't
worries.
get. I had to get off a call. I did want to let you guys know I have a student with me, Laura Lee Wilkes. I forwarded this to her because she's working on her nursing informatics and she's shadowing me. So I thought this was a great opportunity for her to see how we benchmark with other Cerner organizations and how we have talks and we try to schedule things to share within this meeting. So I hope you all don't mind that I had invited her to join us.
No, that's great. And she did join and we were chatting, but then when I asked her to introduce herself, it seems like maybe she's lost her mic or something because she didn't introduce herself.
She works in, and she has had a few issues. I had one of the reasons why I was late. I was having issues switching. It kept telling me to switch orgs to get to this meeting. But she works in our oncology ambulatory infusion center and has great interest in nursing informatics.
Thanks, Tina. And before you joined, Brant was reporting how helpful it was, the conversation you set up with regards to Dynamap and that they were able to bring it live. So now you're caught up.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we were talking about if there's any products or workflows that you're considering working on at this time, Tina. So Jenna mentioned that they were looking at virtual nursing, and Brant that they were switching anesthesia to Talus and bringing SurgeonNet live. And that they're planning an upgrade. What about CAMC?
We are also looking at virtual nursing. We're right now benchmarking or taking a look at vendor selection. In the middle of that, we feel like that's going to be such a huge thing. We are also, we have CAMC has joined a larger healthcare delivery system as Vandalia Health, and we are bringing on board 2 other hospital systems and all of their clinics within this next year. So, Patty, it was reminding me of you when you guys came in and helped us in 2016 have our Cerner Revolution. I had to pull out all of my notes from that, and I was like, we don't have Cerner here to help us with our adoption. And I'm pulling out all of that Revolution stuff of our current state, future state. And I was like, everybody remember, we have to go back to thinking like that of what happened at that point. So that's going to be very exciting in the next year. Those organizations are super excited because they are not on one platform. They're on like 3 or 4 different platforms, and this will take them to one. CareAware devices, we have implemented the handhelds. for that in one hospital, getting ready to start it in another hospital. We are piloting camera capture. We actually just implemented that yesterday. We had done a pilot for tissue analytics a couple years ago, and the nurses found a lot of value, but it was so expensive. So we went back to the drawing board, and what do we have that we already own, and how can we implement that? So we have a process with using the model workflow with the walk nurses and all that. And it started Monday, and so far has been very successful. We took it a little bit farther, other than the model workflow. We're attaching it using dynamic documentation to help get the pictures attached to a note for the provider to see right away. And Launchpoint is our next one that we want to use. Our providers use ED Launchpoint, our nurses do not. So that's the next thing. And then infusion charges, that application. In the oncology world, there are several things that we are wanting to look at too. Their power plans. There's, I think, a third-party vendor that has those. So we're trying to get all of this stuff done in between and prioritize.
Was that
Tina,
one of the,
we're live
sorry.
with Launchpoint for our nurses and have been for a couple of years now. If you have any questions bringing nursing on board, the one thing I remember is to build out the activities column, which basically serves as a task list. Because what happens is those patients waiting on a bed have admit orders and all those admission tasks fire, but they weren't being seen by the EDRN because it wasn't shown in an activities column in Launchpoint. But if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out.
Oh, thank you, Brant. Thank you so much. I will remember that as we just finished the order of magnitude for that. So I definitely will keep both of those. I jotted that down and keep that in mind. Thank you.
I see Ray joined. Hi, Ray. We're just talking about now whether or not there's any products or workflows that anyone is considering working on at their sites over the next year.
Yeah, no, I joined late, sorry I'm late, but I already kind of jotted down good information coming from Tina as she was talking about CareAware Connect. You know, that's something that we're looking at implementing here at Northside here pretty soon. And you know, the attaching of the dying dog, that's a good, I think that's a good idea. What we weren't thinking about that. But if you need any help on the Launchpoint, we already have that live here in our facility, so more than happy to also provide some good information if you need it. And then also good if we could also maybe at one point, since you already went live with CareAware Connect, maybe you know, have some kind of a, if you're willing to maybe have some kind of a reference call with you in the future.
Oh, absolutely. Would be glad to share. To our dismay, our first hospital that we implemented in wasn't as successful as we'd liked it to have been. So I would definitely be willing to share our lessons learned and our issues that we had. And so maybe you wouldn't have to repeat what happened with us.
Oh, that'll be great. Thank you so much, Tina. And if you need us to have a call with you at Launchpoint, we're also willing to share with you some of our lesson stories as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, I just checked in with our ED IT analyst, and our nurses are using it as well. And we are also considering CareAware Connect. So if there's a group conversation, I'd love to get people who know more than me in there for us. So,
Ray, when you met with the people at from I can't even think of North Kansas City Hospital at the conference, did that help out? Tiffany and who's the other person from North Kansas City?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I escapes me. Yeah, that was helpful. I mean,
did you end up having a call with them or not?
Not yet. I think they were still also in the process of implementing CareAware Connect. I think it's been a long journey for them.
Yeah, they were talking a lot about how arduous their journey was.
Yeah. Yeah, so no, I have not checked back to see if they have successfully implemented the product yet, but now that we're kind of in the beginning stages and hopefully get it implemented before the end of the year, I'm sure we'll get back with them and touch base with them on that.
Yeah. The other person is Samara Nash. That's her name.
That's right.
So we're also implementing it at Nicholas Children's, and we had really good reference site calls with Children's National and with, it used to be called Truman Hospital in Kansas City, but it's now called, I think, University Hospital of Kansas City or something like that. But maybe we should make that a topic for one of the next roundtables.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think Cerner is scheduling a reference call with us with Truman. Actually, I don't know if anyone here had a chance to attend the ConnectCon last year. We did, and one of our site visits was with Truman because they already have CareAware Connect, and it was very helpful to see, it in action and how they were able to implement that. So I would strongly suggest if there's opportunity for you to do site visit, maybe that's one of the sites that you all may want to visit. We did have a reference call yesterday with IU Health as well. So they were one of the people that presented also in ConnectCon, and so they actually went live during pandemic with CareAware Connect. They had a very challenging journey as well, but they made it. They made it. They have several facilities that they went live with. Now, what's interesting to me, what they did is they went live with CareAware Connect only for nursing and ancillary. They didn't include physicians, so they continue to use their third-party tool for texting for physicians. But they, education wise, nurses has to go to a different application within
So Nicholas currently has, so they would try to go live on Connect 2.0 and their wireless wasn't sufficient. So the project failed and they dropped it. And they're now trying to do Connect 3 and do a wireless remediation at the same time. In the meantime, they brought live an application called PH Connect for texting. And so our recommendation to them is really that they need to discontinue use of that if they're going to go live with Connect 3, because obviously it will not be good to be using two different texting systems for physicians and nursing. But the wireless remediation is really the important part of the project, because obviously we don't want to go through what they went through with Connect 2, where it was a failure because they kept dropping connectivity.
Yeah, that's one of the things that IU mentioned, is that their connectivity. Cerner will do a connectivity testing with you as part of their process, but they did more than that. They had their own testing. They went around all of the areas to make sure their calls doesn't drop. They do call forward. They did all of that testing just to make sure that connections don't drop, because that's going to be a big dissatisfier. As well as,
Nicholas is taking that approach too. They have one of those sidekick devices. And so, Cerner did a partial walkthrough and Nicholas is going to complete their own using the sidekick. Jenna has her hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to ask for, as you're pursuing these and those who already have, are you using it largely for communication, also for, like the nurse-centric stuff of scanning and actually documenting? Or both, or how are you guys using it? Because I feel like in-house here, a lot of people are talking about it strictly for the communication, and I'm the one person beating the drum, being like, "But nurses can do meds without dragging computers." So it's just curious.
No, so for us, our initial, Connect Messenger can be done on its own. If you want to do a face approach, that could be it. But for us, we want it full on. We want the nurses to also be able to leverage the tool, the nursing module tool, scanning and all of that, for, in addition to the communication. But yeah, Cerner said that if if communication is the biggest part right now, or because that's a smaller scale implementation that takes, months, 2 months maybe to implement. then you can do it that way. You can do a phase approach or you can do full on. But we plan to do, full on implementation.
And yeah, I feel you. Are you guys like purchasing devices, or are you doing BYOD or something you already own?
We have actually purchased devices. It's being housed in Cerner right now. We purchased SpectraLink, diversity phones. So interesting enough, I'm glad that hopefully we made the right choice, because IU Health said that they originally purchased, gosh, what's the other one? Zebra. Is it Zebra?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
and they had problems, so they switched to diversity phones.
A lot of the original
That's
ones
good to
did
know.
Zebra. A lot of the original ones did Zebra, and I know Jackson in Miami had problems with the Zebra, and I think they were the first ones to switch to SpectraLink, and Nicholas is doing SpectraLink as well.
Yeah.
Are you planning to do alerting when you're saying you're doing everything? Is that including alerts or?
Yeah, we are also including alerting now. Again, depends on, how much involved that would be and how much time it will be added in the timeline. We want to make sure we can get this out, safely and quickly as possible with whatever, 80% of the features that we can implement right away. And one of the things that IU mentioned also is that they have a ability to connect with your nurse call.
Right.
They are suggesting that, don't do that in phase 1, because that's very complicated and that's going to add on to your timeline. They asked us that. I said, well, we do want to integrate with our nurse call, but we were not thinking about doing that phase 1, which they said, that would be a good approach. But yes, alerting is part of the modular package that we're also looking into.
So interesting, because Nicholas is actually planning to do nurse integration with nurse call as well as with Philips. So Hill-Rom and Philips are both part of the initial go live. So I think what we should do is maybe have this be a topic for the next meeting in May, if that's okay. May was scheduled to be an innovation presentation. So who all is it? Tina, are you the only one on the call that's live with Connect 3?
I think so.
Yeah. So maybe we'll put it out. So I know, like I said, the ladies from North Kansas City Hospital are live. So maybe we'll put it out that that it'll be the major topics will be Connect 3, and then if people can come prepared to talk about their experiences.
Would it be reasonable to, bring some friends along? Because I am not the technical expert here. You guys far outpace me on some of these conversations, so I feel like I need to phone a friend on the more technical sides of things.
That's absolutely okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking too that if I was going to help present and share, that I might have my friends on the line too, in case somebody was asking more technical things than I could answer.
That sounds fine.
Can you send a reminder maybe, Patty, so that I remember to forward that on if we decide that's the way to go, to a couple people on my team that would probably like to hear the conversation?
Yep, it'll come out in the minutes. Brian usually
Perfect.
does the agendas, but I'll ask him to send it earlier next time as a reminder.
Thank you. And the earlier I get it on a couple of these folks' calendars, the better.
Yeah, I think we probably could talk about our lessons learned the entire time when you were talking about alerts and our infrastructure. Our team thought they did a thorough job, and they really didn't. It was really a failure, and we tried to implement Connect Messenger, which is still being utilized, but the nurses won't hardly use it for medication administration. They won't hardly use it for specimen collection. They barely use it for camera capture, which I'm struggling with that as well, when we have a whole nother area that's using it very well. Yeah, I could go on and on and on about our issues that you all hopefully would never have to encounter what we did.
And that's all because of the wireless infrastructure?
Yes, most of it is because it really wouldn't connect. And so when one portion of it really wasn't connecting well, they just decided none of it would work. And then there's issues with medication administration as well. We launch power forms from some of our medicines so that assessments will be done. You cannot do that with the CareAware Connect device. So as soon as they realize that our PRN pay meds that can't happen, then they don't want to use it for anything. So it's all of those things that you have to work through and know very well in advance, and how to diffuse that when you implement it. I thought we put good education out to what you had to do for all of these things when that happened, and it just really wasn't adopted well.
Yeah,
But we're working on it.
We aren't planning to go live with the BCMA in the first phase anyway, so it's good to know that it was a dissatisfier for you.
It was, but we're not giving up on it because we still think it will help nurses. I think that they're angry because of the wireless, and now that we've done a better assessment and we've done we've updated some of the things. One of the things that had happened with it was that they did put this really robust wireless infrastructure, but because it was so strong, it was when the device would connect down in one hallway, instead of dropping and connecting to the next one seamlessly, it was holding on to it. So then when they got down to the end of the hallway, it passed 3 other access points. When it dropped, it would take a minute because it was too far away. So they had to turn that ability down. And I'm not real technical, but that's how it was explained to me. It was like, oh, we've got the best that you can have, but if you turn it up too high for it to stay connected, it doesn't help those long med-surg departments where you've got a long hallway. It needs to seamlessly keep connecting to your access points.
The closest one, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things that Nicholas is doing is not going live with alerting at first, because they're sure that they won't finish their wireless remediation project in the timeline that they want to roll out Connect 3. So they feel like, because everyone is so used to cell phones dropping when you leave an elevator and that kind of thing, that they can go live with the other functionality like voice and texting and the nursing app. But they feel like it would be a challenge to go live with alerting, and that people would be really anxious if they missed an alert because they were in a bad cell or a bad coverage area.
Yeah, the escalation alerts to that discussion with the frontline staff, when we went through them, how to set the alarms, the alerts and the escalations, evidently they didn't know their processes as well as they thought they did. The porch charge nurse was getting getting alerts for everything because nobody was answering the alerts when it went to the HUC, then it went to the primary nurse. So it was all going to the charge nurse. So those were things that we had to put into place too. They were just ignoring a bunch of them. Yeah, the alerts is a really, really big, the GE, and then we use a roll and call system. We had to have all that updated before we could go live with it. And there's issues with that on how do you cancel it and who should be. We didn't outline that as well as we thought we did. So like I said, we had lots and lots of lessons learned for it. We thought we did a good job, but looking back at it, we did not comb through it as well as we should have.
So it sounds like you're verbally right now working on your presentation for next month.
Yeah. Oh, we have, I have the whole lessons learned thing, and then I'll have a couple other technical experts on the line that can walk you through what we had to do, so you won't have to do what we did.
Yeah, I think I'll invite, there is somebody from Nicholas that is on the invite list for the calls, but she hasn't been attending. So I think I'll invite their director of informatics, because I think she'll be very happy to hear that presentation. the next agenda item was questions for the group. So does anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask, that they're looking for help on anything besides the ED Launchpoint that we've talked about?
Hey, Patty, this is Ray again. I do have a question. What are the other organizations using for like their supervisor rounding tool? One of the things we're looking at is ability for our supervisors or charge nurses to, a tool for them to do the rounding. I know we have handoff within Cerner, but I think they want it to be a little bit more customized, wherein they can do rounds related to core measures type thing. Does anybody have developed anything like that, either within Cerner or with a third-party vendor?
So we use, we've kind of modified our clinical leader organizer to help us with that. We're looking at using the multidisciplinary work list instead of using that one. We've made it so big and so robust because it does have like all your hospital acquired conditions and your high risk things that are on there. We added our anticipated discharge date to that as well. To help during our rounding, we have asked our case management to manage the CLO, and then they update that anticipated discharge date directly from the CLO from that as well. Our ICUs, and we have tried to, we're not really using it for rounding, but the charge nurses are using it more for their rounding, the ICU liberation and the critical care work list. They use those kind of in combination together to have different high risk things that are specific to the ICU so that they would know who's all ventilated, who's had their spontaneous breathing trials and things like that. And then all your hemodynamics as well as your high risk things that are on the CLO, but they're more organized to the critical care setting. So we've kind of have a mix match of some of those things. I think we're not really using probably what could be used better with the MDTR board. And I think we really would like CareView, because what I've seen with CareView and where they've brought CareView to would be ideal, but that's a big expense.
Okay, that's helpful. I think, yeah, we were looking at CLO as well, that, maybe we can leverage that and customize it. So I think we have a reference call with, or a call with Cerner today, but that's helpful to know that you're using CLO for that.
Yes.
I have a funny, I don't know if it's funny, but related to CareView boards. If you don't lock down the settings, they will turn the CareView board into a YouTube fireplace and play a 10-hour video that looks like a fireplace instead of the CareView board showing. We found that.
Oh, wow.
That's inventive. I like it.
If you don't go over every single nut and bolt, every I and every T, they will find a way. And it's just, we just had to laugh. The IT can go in and keep them from being able to do that. But yeah, they just switched it to a YouTube video and played a fireplace video the whole time instead of having a CareView board.
The things that purposefully done when you have these nice things. I have a question. Do you guys have policies around your gender identity and sexual orientation? Do you guys utilize the banner bar to identify if a patient says that they're, like, if I'm a female but I identify as a male, do you all use all that functionality, and do you have a policy aligned with it? Because we just implemented all of it, and we sent out the education to it, but now that we're getting lots of questions about what does birth sex mean, what does administrative sex mean, it's like we probably should have had the policy before we sent all of that stuff out.
Our banner bar shows birth sex and current sex. We didn't use the term administrative. We went with birth sex and current sex, and if there's a mismatch, there's a pop-up that alerts the provider, or I can't remember exactly who gets the pop-up, but so they can be addressed, because there's some concerns with certain lab values and things that you have to go to the source of truth.
Right.
You know.
Well, and that was what we found when we implemented in 2016, they were using administrative sex. And then when they added the birth sex to it, now we have to build a rule to go back and change everybody. So when the mismatch happens, I like your term much better than administrative sex. Current sex is much better. It's much easier for a frontline person when they're reading it. That's what that means, is what they identify with, versus administrative sex. I hated that term, but when they implemented it, they said that was the only term we could use. So I can at least take that back to them for that. Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions? So the next agenda item Brian had listed was the struggles, challenges encountered, and Grant has already updated that with CAMC's help, he was able to get live with the Dynamaps. Are there any other struggles, challenges that anyone would like to discuss? So then the last agenda item then is that we are finally ready to restart the CNIO Roundtable. So if any of you want to let others in your organization know who maybe haven't been participating in the past, and it will be on April the 5th. Let me just look at the time. April the 5th at 1 p.m. So Jenny, you're asking if there is like you can sign up on the Make Solutions website. I'm trying to remember if anyone from Centra was attending the CNIO. I think they were. Just give me a second. I'll pull up the.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if Jenna Lloyd was attending, I would assume her counterpart at the time was as well, and he's still here. I don't know if he was on it or not. That'd be Pat Brown.
I'm just gonna look and see. I feel like there was someone on. Yeah, so Pat Brown is on the attendee list. The last session back in October of 2021, he didn't participate in, but if you want to let him know that we're restarting, he should get the invite anyway.
Sounds good. You said that was April 5th.
Yeah, at 1 p.m.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Does anyone else have anything for the group? Thank you very much.
I appreciate all of you all.
Yep, they're always good conversations. So Tina, you signed up for Connect 3 for next session in May, and we'll all look forward to that presentation.
Sounds good.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.